2 babies were born screaming into a hospital that didn't care enough to notice them. Fluorescent lights flickered. A nurse was exhausted. Hands moved too fast. 2 name tags were switched. There was no thunder, no great warning. Just a quiet mistake that cursed 2 lives before they had even begun. One child was taken home by strangers and named Amara. They raised her with a strict kind of love and constant struggle. Hunger taught her patience. Disappointment taught her silence. She learned early that survival meant working harder than everyone else and asking for nothing. She learned to build a life from the scraps she was given. The other child was raised by Amara's real parents. Her name was Liana. She was fed first, praised first, and defended even when she was wrong. They gave her everything they had. Yet, an envy grew inside her like mold, slow, invisible, and poisonous. Something inside Liana was always watching, always comparing, always resenting the world for not giving her more. Years later, the truth finally bled out. Paperwork, DNA tests, shaking hands and broken parents. You were swapped at birth. The words hung in the air, shattering 2 worlds. 2 women stood face to face, sharing blood but nothing else. Amara tried to love this stranger who was her sister. Liana pretended. She smiled, but her eyes were cold. Because Amara had what Liana wanted most: respect, peace, and a husband who loved her without fear. Ethan never raised his voice at Amara. He never embarrassed her, never looked away. Liana noticed everything, the way he waited for her. The way he touched her hand like she was something fragile and precious. The way he chose her day after day. For Liana, that was an unforgivable crime. Her jealousy stopped sleeping. It started planning. Liana's smile became careful. Her voice became sweet. Sisters should make memories, she said one day. Let's go skydiving. Amara's chest tightened with a sense of dread she couldn't explain. But the pull of blood, the desperate hope for a family, makes doubt feel like betrayal. So she said yes. The small plane climbed higher and higher until the ground disappeared into a blur of green and brown. The wind screamed against the fuselage like a warning. They stood at the open door, the world spread out beneath them. They jumped. For a few seconds, there was only the rush of air, the pounding of hearts. Then Liana moved. She didn't hesitate. She didn't flinch. With cold precision, she reached over and pulled Amara's parachute cord, sending the canopy deploying far too early, tangling it, rendering it useless. Amara fell, tumbling and screaming into the open sky, knowing in that one horrifying moment that her own sister wanted her dead. Her body hit the earth like a punishment. Doctors called it a miracle she survived. Amara called it hell. A broken spine, crushed ribs, blood in her lungs. The pain was so deep she begged to sleep and never wake up. But through the fog of agony, one thing remained constant: Ethan. He stayed. He watched the machines breathe for her. He whispered prayers into her hair. He held her hand and loved her harder than fear ever could. Liana waited for news of a funeral. She had imagined it all: the grief, the sympathy, the way Ethan might turn to her for comfort. Instead, the police came. There was video footage from the plane, harness checks that told a story. Witness statements from the jumpmaster. The truth, it turns out, does not stay buried forever. Handcuffs closed around Liana's wrists. The parents who had once chosen her, defended her, now cried not for her, but for the daughter she had tried to kill. The world did not forgive. The prison system did not care about her jealousy or her poisoned heart. Amara learned to walk again. Each step was a battle. There were screams behind closed doors and nightmares that never fully stopped. But she lived. She fought for every breath, every movement, fueled by a strength she never knew she had. Years later, she visited the prison. She didn't go for closure or for an apology she knew would never come. She went to prove that she had survived. They sat across from each other, separated by thick glass. Liana looked smaller, hollow, forgotten by the world she had so desperately wanted to conquer. Amara looked tired, scarred, but she was alive. No words were exchanged. None were needed. Karma had already spoken its verdict. In her rage, Liana had tried to take everything from Amara. Amara lost her innocence that day, falling from the sky. But in the end, it was Liana who lost everything. And that, in its own terrible way, was the balance. Thanks for watching.